Good morning, everybody. Today, as a long-term Intel Ivy Bridge user, I want to talk about how Sandy and Ivy Bridge are dying. Alright, so I got a list of pros and cons to both Sandy and Ivy Bridge. Well, all the pros are the same for both, and all the cons are the same for both. You get the picture. And then I have a final statement and an announcement, I guess. So I've been using Intel Ivy Bridge for about 5 years now. I started with a i5 3570, and then more recently I upgraded to a Xeon 1275 V2. So let's start by looking at the pros of Sandy and Ivy Bridge. So first things first, the CPUs are pretty cheap. Even for the high-end stuff, you can usually get them for like less than $80. Which, I mean, for a chip that old isn't really a pro. I mean, you're still paying like more than $50 for a 10-year-old quad core, you know? But yeah, they're not super expensive for their capabilities. So with the Z77 series motherboards, and I think also the B75s, you can get motherboards with solid state capacitors, which is great for longevity. So like my computer has the ASRock Z77 Pro 4 board, and it has solid state power delivery, which is nice. It's made it last this long, and I love it. Well, I did love it. We'll get to that. So my CPU motherboard combo, the Pro 4 Z77 and the Xeon, I found pretty capable of live streaming. So the one thing I did notice though is if I'm playing games and streaming, I usually have to turn down the output resolution to 720p. And that basically just comes down to which encoder you use. You can use a GPU encoder if you'd rather do that. But yeah, capable of streaming 1080p if you have the internet for it, obviously. And the last pro that I had written on my list was these chips are very stable. Ivy Bridge more than Sandy Bridge. Just newer architecture. 22 nanometer was, in my personal opinion, Intel's peak. So yeah. Now for the cons list. We got lack of modern features. So things like M.2 support, and I think, I don't know, there could be some motherboards out there that have like an M.2 slot, but I don't know if they support NVMe. One thing's for sure, and that's that Z77 does not support PCIe Gen 4. So that's something to keep in mind. You can't pair them with like newer high-end graphics cards. Obviously you wouldn't want to, because it's a quad core from like at latest like 2013, so it's not that big of a drawback, but lack of NVMe support is definitely a thing. Also limited to DDR3. With Ivy Bridge on certain Z77 boards, you can get relatively high frequencies with Intel XMP I think the highest I've seen was 2800 megahertz DDR3. And while we're on the topic of XMP, we'll mention overclocking. So for overclocking chips, there's the i5 2500K, the 3570K, the 3770K, and the 2600K. As far as I'm aware, for at least the Z77 chipset, those are the only overclockable chips for the Z77 chipset. I could be mistaken. There might be some i3s, maybe some Pentiums. I don't know. But basically, if you want to play modern competitive shooter games like CS2, you might have to do some overclocking to iron out some of the micro stutters. Because that is definitely a thing with these quad cores. That's my next point, is that you're limited to quad core unless you go X79, or I don't know, I guess X79 is your only way to get more cores on Ivy Bridge or Sandy Bridge. And my final point for the cons is Windows 11 does not support these CPUs out of the box. And that comes down to, I think, Microsoft has one of the requirements as TPM 2.0. As far as I'm aware, your B75 and Z77 motherboards only support TPM 1.0, and that's if they have the port. So that's something to keep in mind. If you want Windows 11 on these things, you'll have to do some sort of workaround, which for those who aren't into that sort of thing can kind of hold you back, seeing as Windows 10 support is ending very soon. So now my conclusion, while still an affordable option for regular computer tasks, these CPUs are falling behind in gaming performance. I've been using Intel Ivy Bridge CPUs for the past 5 years, and with every new game update comes a new reason to upgrade, whether it be lower FPS, micro stutters, or some other unforeseen issue, such as crashing, lack of instruction sets to even run newer games. So earlier I said I had an announcement, and that announcement is very relevant to this video. This video is all about Sandy and Ivy Bridge. Like I said, I've been using Ivy Bridge for the past 5 years. And so in the coming months, I'll be acquiring some parts to upgrade to Coffee Lake. Basically, I found a really good deal on an i5 9600K, and I've already purchased some RAM, and the next thing I need is a motherboard, hoping to get like a Z370. Is that the chipset? Z370, or is it Z390? I don't know. I don't know the difference. Anyways, that's it for this little chat. So I'll see ya.